Well, welcome back for another week with Lawn Care with Darrell. Last week we talked about the getting ready for the winterizer, but this week I'd like to review our weather that we had. Last week it was cold, we had snow, and the grass growth pretty much stopped as we had discussed. So getting prepared for the winterizer to come along. Now, good to mention and note that the ground did not freeze. And we're not having frozen ground. So obviously, if that were the case, we'd have some issues with applying fertilizer on frozen ground, which is not to be done. Right now, the soil temperature has averaged 42 degrees for the last 5 days, so we're looking pretty good. So we're going to talk again a little bit more about the winterizer. As I mentioned, we had planned to do it on 11 and 29 Thanksgiving weekend going into the first, second week of December. So probably settled on doing it on that Friday after Thanksgiving because we're expecting rain and a possible little mix of snow on Saturday, which will be just perfect for watering it in. The temps will still be around 50 degrees during the daytime that day and 30 at night. So that'll be optimal time to get it down. So after applying the winterizer that day after Thanksgiving and the rain, a week later I'm going to be applying some lime that I have here, the Pennington fast-acting lime. And I'm doing that because my spring soil sample that I took and had processed by Soil Savvy came in at 4.6. Now, the pH target for grass is 6 to 7. So the better the pH in that range, it means it has better uptake of all the other nutrients, the N, the P, the K, the nitrogen, the potassium, and the phosphorus. Now, I added 30 pounds in the spring on March 3rd. I then did another Soil Savvy sample in August before I did my overseeding and all to see where everything was. And my pH had raised to 5.6 from 4.6. So it came up a point. Now it's still right at the bottom of the range, 6 to 7. So I'm going to go ahead and apply another 30 pounds of lime about a week or two after I do my fertilizer for the winterizer before the ground freezes again, so that can work into the soil over the winter. Because lime is not an instant fix. It takes a while for the lime to actually interact with the soil. And that's why I did 2 applications, one in the spring and one in the fall. And I will redo a soil sample again in the spring and reevaluate where everything is so I know how much to add of the various nutrients. And I highly recommend you get a soil sample test. Again, it'll point you in the right direction as we discuss further next year and into spring, as you know, what do you need to apply, how you should apply it, what deficiencies you may need to correct. Now, you'll notice I also like to mention some of the equipment I use today. I do use the Scotts drop spreader. I have a small lawn. A lot of people like the broadcast spreaders, which is fine. I prefer this only because I have great control and it works for my lawn. If you got a larger lawn, obviously you're going to want a broadcast spreader. Even larger lawn, maybe in a pool behind. But my lawn, as mentioned in my other videos, is 2,500 square feet. It's a basic size lawn for a subdivision. It's not very big at all. But it works great for me and I can control it. I don't have to worry about it throwing into the beds and those sort of things. Now, interesting thing about when you apply your different products, you need to get used to your spreader. How much do you put out? Well, you know, we always talk about pounds per 1,000. Everything's measured in 1,000 square feet. And that's another reason for always mentioning the size of my yard. You need to measure your yard if you don't know, so you can figure that out and do your math and do your calculations on your various products. Now, the Scotts products that I use, and I do use other things. I've used Ringer, I used Milorganite last year, and I used the next product, so I do use a variety of things. Now, the Scotts products obviously have the settings for the spreader on the bag, which is great. Now, here's a little trick that I've done. Okay, so what do I put? It's a new fertilizer, Milorganite, for example. First time I applied it, yeah, they kind of tell you what to do. I also applied some basic 10-10-10. So here's what I did. I had a variety of different bags of Scotts, and I checked the prill size. Now, we haven't discussed prill size, but basically prill size is the size of the granules of the fertilizer. So I found one of like or close to the size of the prill size of the 10-10-10, for example. Looked at the setting that they applied there, did the math, figured out how many pounds of nitrogen was going to go down per 1,000 if I applied it at that setting, and then used that to apply the 10-10-10. So that's how you can estimate it, or you can do it a number of different ways. But that was the easiest way for me because I had several different size bags of that. Having said all that, I'd like to just remind everybody that since this week there wasn't really any applications to do it, it was leaf removal. Leaf removal is important, especially if you want to keep it from killing your grass, if you got new grass seedlings. And actually this week I finally got on a little bit of side yard and got the leaves off. I never actually had a chance to cut it. I mentioned it. We'll see how that goes. It was a little bit behind the yard. The yard itself is looking fantastic. The leaves are gone. I spent the day getting the leaves up with my shredder vacuum. Again, I really like the way that works. It's great for a small yard. Some people like to blow. I don't like to mulch them into the yard. That's just me. I would rather remove them. Really do like the clean vacuum look that I got. Thanks again for joining me this week. Just remember to like and subscribe and share with your buddies, and comment below if you have any comments about the videos or any questions. Thanks again for joining us, and I'll leave you here with a little bit of my leaf collection and lawn vacuuming video shot today.